But this final segment, I figured it was only right that for the 1 year anniversary of the first ever show, we talk about the exact same thing that we closed out the segment with in that show. The same title that the show was, which was, hold on, let me look at the title so then I don't get it wrong. I'm pretty sure it was who are the offensive X Factors? Who is the offensive X Factor? Had to get it exactly right. And let's go through it. So Joshua, I'll let you go first. This season, who is the offensive X Factor?
Man, this is gonna surprise you. Maybe I'm gonna say the whole offensive line.
Okay.
At the end of the day, you cannot win without an offensive line. Getting Ronnie Stanley back, Big Sexy, drafting Big Sexy in the third round, and he's gonna be an immediate starter. But now we're taking Bradley Bozeman and moving him on to center, where we done had some of the not so best, center play. I would say after Matt Burke and Ryan Jensen. Matt Burke was he was a guy that was all about the knowledge. Ryan Jensen was a guy that's like, look, I got your back always. Don't worry about it. They try you, they try me. So, now we're going to find out, what's going to be, the next chapter for solidifying our center position. And Bradley Bozeman has taken that step. He's stepped up to the plate to be, that next center because we can all be honest. We did think Matt Skura was going to be that guy, but then next thing you know, instead of being honest about him having a cut on his thumb, he kept on trying to stay out there, tough it out as a man, kept on snapping the ball, but it was hurting us more than helping us out. Then Pat McCarry, didn't have any injuries. He just kept on oversnapping Lamar Jackson. So I definitely feel like Bradley Bozeman being on the offensive line, playing on the left side, moving over, and he also has history being a center, and they're building that bond. Like I said, all 80 guys coming out to voluntary OTAs and getting those reps in, it speaks volumes to what this season could possibly be. And then on top of that, you add 2 veterans in Kevin Zeitler and Villanueva. Villanueva, the way he sounded, he been wanting to get out of Pittsburgh. Crazy that he stayed in the AFC North and actually went to the rival. We heard some of his comments, but something that stuck out to me, he highly talked about Lamar Jackson and wanting to play, for this young man. You bring in a Zeitler that knows how to do, a lot of the schematics blocking that Greg Roman puts in his offensive playbook. So that's another push. And we actually been missing that veteran presence on the offensive line since Marshall Yonder, especially at that right guard position. Then you got interchangeable pieces like Tyree Phillips, where, I feel like he can get a good number of reps this year, possibly. So I'm taking these big uglies, and I'm going against, those defensive big uglies, and I'm taking my guys all day, open up the holes from the running backs, but not only open up the holes, but keeping my quarterback safe and protected. It was too many times where we saw Lamar Jackson on the run for his life and not being able to get the passes off, where he's very frustrated, also not being able to get the snaps how we wanted. So I definitely feel like, this offensive line is going to be this X factor, and hopefully we can keep this starting 5 through the whole season.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at what kind of an X factor is. If they play bad, your team doesn't succeed at all. And if they play really well, your team's going to have success no matter what. Mm-hmm. And you talked about it a little bit. When we couldn't snap the ball, we had no success. When the offensive line has played well, we absolutely dominate our opponents. So I think that the offensive line is absolutely wanted. Everybody's in a new spot playing next to nobody is playing next to somebody they've ever played next to. Which is very unique for a new offensive line and an offensive line of veterans, except for, Big Sexy at the left guard spot. But overall, I think that's a really good answer. For me, I'm going to go with the weapon. No, I'm just kidding. I am going with the tight end, though. I'm going with Mark Andrews.
Okay.
I think Mark Andrews, he's the guy that sets the tone for the game. He is the one that gets over the middle. And when he's making tough catches, the Ravens offense is unstoppable. But when the Ravens play the Chiefs, when the Ravens play, the Titans or the Bills or whatever, and Mark Andrews isn't catching those difficult catches, the Ravens don't win. They can only win when Mark Andrews is able to make those tough catches. Look at what he did against Washington. Look at what he did in week 1 against Cleveland. Very difficult catches, both for touchdowns. And then you see what happened in Kansas City, and it's just like, fingertips, outstretched arms, didn't reach far enough. Just those types of things. And it ruins the drives. It not only ruins the drives, but it ruins momentum. It just stagnates the entire offense, and it just makes everybody a little bit down in the dumps. Just like, whenever, somebody makes a mistake like that, it's bad. If a defender makes a great play and swats it down, no offensive players they're not hanging their head low. But if, a pass is catchable and it comes out of your hands, that's when it hurts. That's when it really hurts. When you let your guys down, and it seems like for him, he's one of those guys. I knew a guy like this. I played lacrosse with him. He was our goalie. First 40 minutes, first 35 minutes of the game, very, very good goalie. All of a sudden, one goal gets let in. Horrible goalie. It was the most ridiculous thing. It would be like he'd have 15 saves, and then all of a sudden he'd let one in. He'd have 0 saves the rest of the game, and they'd score 8 goals. It was. I mean, Mark Andrews isn't that bad, but it was just very up and down. His mood swings completely got affected his play, and when he was feeling confident, nobody could score on it. But all of a sudden, when that confidence wavered, it was just like, oh no. And it's like when Mark Andrews has drops, he doesn't just have one drop in a game. It's like, wow, he had a bad game. He had 3 big drops. He just really couldn't get it going. But then Mark Andrews has games where he's going up and he's making great catches, jumping up, low-key mossing people. And doing all those types of things. You look at the San Francisco game from 2000. What year was that? 2019. I think it was week 10. I believe the Niners were 8-1 at that point. That was like a game in the rain, and he made a terrific touchdown grab on a kind of back shoulder throw. It was about a 25, 30-yard touchdown. Made a great leaping catch. Those types of things. When he's making those plays, that makes the Ravens offense so much better. Because it helps the middle of the field and it is able to just help Lamar know that in the game he's got his safety blanket. When he doesn't have a safety blanket, he freezes overnight. It's very unfortunate, but that's just how it works. So Mark Andrews, for me, is the offensive X factor because when he is not on, I don't think the Ravens have ever won a game where Mark Andrews didn't play well. If he doesn't play well, it's over.
And what makes it worse, we don't have another tight end to, pick up his slack. So, I mean, Nick Bull, he's evolving, to be able to catch the ball, but who's gonna expect, a blocking tight end to become this great pass catcher, So no, I definitely understand. I definitely agree with that. Athletes and people in general, when it comes to life, man, you got to have short-term memory loss to a degree. You can't let, a past situation just, linger that long. Life goes on. You learn from those. You learn from those situations. Those are examples of things that you don't want to do. They don't mean start putting the pressure on yourself. No. If you see it, you know how to avoid it. That's like a basketball player. Okay. They know, they go against certain defenders. Let's say, Luka and Pat Beverly. Pat think he knows how to guard Luka. What Luka said in his either Luka said in his own native tongue or even English. You're too little. If you see something from your past, you should know how to, maneuver or avoid it. So, when it comes to athletes, when it comes to life, when you see things, that could be similar to something that, that may have caused some type of failure, that may cause some type of hurt, that may cause some type of depression, you have to, you take those mental reps, you learn from it, get better from it, and you move forward. So that's what we got to do. That's what Mark has to do. Honestly, get past those mental. Once he gets past those mental blocks, boom, back in the bread basket, back to working out.
You help with that?
What
if we had a player that would go over to him and inspire him?
A leader.
If we had somebody that was going to come out and tell him, because if Dennis Pitta, if Todd Heap dropped a pass, you know who's on the sideline? Hey, man, I know you got this next one, okay? You know, you go out there, you're going to play your best game, you're going to catch that next pass, and you are going to play your best game of football. That was Ray Lewis on the sideline every time somebody dropped a pass.
Yes, sir.
You don't see that. And it all becomes whether or not every player internally has it. You know, Lamar, you know, I think the Ravens last year, I believe it was, they created that mantra where they said, like, don't say my bad. Say, like, I'll do it better. And that's kind of John Harbaugh trying to, like, get that kind of chemistry and build that, you know, group stuff up. However, overall,
it's different with a player.
It's got to come from a player. You know, Lamar's the guy who he throws a pick. He's like, nah, don't worry. I got you next time. And he does. Like when he throws a pick, he's typically pretty good on that next drive, and he's able to make up for his mistake. But Mark Andrews doesn't seem to have that same thing. And it's not a knock on Mark Andrews. I mean, it's just how you are. I mean, it's not something you can fix about yourself. It's just you got to have somebody that can be able to be there to pick you up. And obviously Lamar, he's definitely gonna try. We'll see how it works out. But like, that's where that vocal leadership comes in. That's when, if you're in high school and you drop a touchdown pass, you know who goes, you know, you may get yelled at by your coach, but you know, comes, maybe you're a junior, a sophomore, you know, comes over there, that senior that doesn't really play. And he's like, you got this, man. You got it next time. Like, I know you can do this. You're going to go out there and do it.
Matter of fact, what's the gift? What's the gift out here now? It was Jalen Hurts. When Jalen Hurts was at UCLA, and I think it was like his power forward, put his head.
Oh, whoa! We are talking about Moses Brown, 7'1" center for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I knew you know. Come on now.
Yeah.
What did he do? Put his hand on his shoulder, pick his head up. Come on, man, you got this. Now look where he's at now.
Yep.
Look where he's at now. You know.
He undrafted player, Portland Trail Blazers, now Oklahoma City Thunder. I believe he's had a 2020 game already in his young NBA career.
Yes, he has.
Absolutely. I think it was like his first ever start of his career. Shout out to Moses Brown. Absolutely. That's a great moment from that. You know, we see that so much in college sports, especially in like March Madness. March Madness is the perfect time where, like, you know, there's so many just great leaders that are just like, this guy's never going to make it to the NBA. Like, you know that. He's the fourth-year senior at Kentucky that everybody's like, yeah, you're not one and done at Kentucky. You're not going pro.
Right.
But he's there, and he's talking to all the young guys. You know, he's the fourth-year senior at Duke, and he's like, yo, Zion. And he talks to Zion or whatever. And Zion's like, you know, Zion still would respect him. You know, I don't know who the player would be. I don't remember 2018 Duke basketball that well, other than I believe it was that guy's brother. I don't know. I know his brother's in the NBA. I can't remember what his name is.
Jones.
Probably a bad analogy, but there were a lot of guys on that Duke team. But you know, you look at colleges. Tim Tebow, obviously great leader in college. You know, we talked about it in the leadership segment, but Mark Andrews, I think, just needs that. And he will be unstoppable. Also, Mark Andrews' disrespect is going crazy. PFF overall hates Baltimore. But, like, you know, they put Kyle Pitts ahead of Mark Andrews already. Kyle Pitts never even played. But I don't know. I feel like that's pretty solid. I feel like that's got to be where we wrap it up.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the podcast. Thank you all for all the support. It's been 1 year now. You know, bigger and better things, as always, will be coming soon. Live with the viewers Saturdays. Eventually, we'll have game nights on Wednesday nights. Should be a lot of fun. We're very excited for that, especially once we get those PS5s. Then it'll be extra fun. But
hey,
you know,
man, if anybody knows somebody,
there you go.
Holler at us. I know y'all know something. Especially my guys out of Baltimore, man. I know y'all know something. Talk to me, man.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you everyone for watching. Subscribe, like the podcast, like the video, comment your thoughts and opinion on who your offensive X factor is. And we'll see all of you again tomorrow.